Hey, how's it going, everyone? Pete here to talk a little bit about water safety and a couple things we can do as a community to decrease the number of drowning deaths, drowning injuries, and just generally be a little safer around the water this summer. It's going to come up quick. There's going to be a lot of people around the water, and I'm giving this speech in the hopes that we can have a safe one. So, a couple things that I think we can do to mitigate drowning instances, drowning injuries, any kind of water related injuries are number one, drinking responsibly. Alcohol plays is a huge factor in all water related injuries or a large portion of water related injuries. And it's something that's so easy, it's so in our control, and it's something that would really mitigate accidents that happen around water. Another thing is always wearing a life jacket. A lot of times historically when we look at water related accidents and drowning deaths, they could have been prevented if that person was wearing a life jacket. So I can't harp on how important that is enough. And the last one is always watching your kids around water. Tragically, there are a lot of children, usually in the 0 to 4 range, that stumble into a swimming pool, and then the end result is tragic. And that's something that I also believe is in our control, and that's something that we can work to mitigate by just keeping a better eye on them and taking better safety measures around the pool, making sure there's a fence, and most important thing is just never letting them out of your sight. So, in the United States, close to 4,000 people die through drowning every year. 20% of these deaths are children under the age of 14, and that averages out to about 11 per day. But obviously, in the summer, people are going to be around the water more, so it's more likely, about 18 in the summer, 18 per day in the summer, and just a couple in the winter. One of the major focus in drowning deaths is a lack of swimming skills. In all three scenarios, with the alcohol-related incidents, wearing life jackets, and watching your kids, if all the people that had accidents around water that you know experienced a drowning death were stronger swimmers, they practiced their skills more, that they may have had a different outcome in whatever situation that they experienced. Not saying it would have completely changed their situation, but it may have. Um, so first of all, always wearing a life jacket in and around water helps prevent unintentional drowning deaths. The U.S. Coast Guard estimates that in 2010, 672 boaters drowned to death, and 88% of them were failing to wear a life jacket. And the Center for Disease Control estimates that half of all of those boating accidents, all the 672, could have been um, could have had a different outcome if they were wearing a life jacket. So those statistics speak for themselves. It really shows how important those uh, life vests are, and it's something that's so easy that we can do. And it may not look cool, but it's definitely a lot cooler than losing your life in a boating related accident. So obviously, parents can't always rely on life jackets for their kids. You're not going to strap a life jacket on your kid when they're walking around outside by the backyard pool. But that's where watching your kids comes into play, and that's something that's so incredibly important. And like I said, I can't harp on that enough. Um, that close supervision of your children could mitigate so many child-related drownings, and it's always so tragic when a child loses their life in a backyard with their parents just a couple feet away, and that's something that we can prevent. So most drowning deaths of children aged 1 to 4 occur in swimming pools, and drowning remains the second leading cause of of children between the ages of 1 and 4, besides birth defects, and that is huge. Child-related drownings are usually um, preventable. When you look back at a lot of child-related drownings, you can find things that could have changed by close supervision, or their parents not taking part in alcohol use, or something like that. Drowning can happen in a matter of seconds, and drowning can also happen in really small bodies of water. Even when your child is taking a bath, it's incredibly important to maintain that close supervision. And it seems silly. It's just a bathtub. How can my child drown in a bathtub? But it happens. It happens more often than you may think. The CDC recommends that parents and guardians supervise young children close enough to touch them at all times. So if you're in the backyard, if you're around a body of water, even a bathtub or a bucket of water, uh, stay an arm's distance away from them. Don't ever let them get out of your sight, and don't ever get to a position where you can't get to them in a matter of 1 to 2 seconds. Drowning doesn't just happen to children, though. Drowning can happen to adults, and I said 20% is age 14 and below, so that leaves 80% for adults aged 14 and up. And a lot of those um, water-related injuries involved alcohol. Over the past 5 years in my state of Arizona alone, an average of 7 accidents resulted in an average of 3 deaths due to excessive alcohol use while operating a boat. Excessive alcohol use remains a leading contributor of water-related injuries. That's above drug use and rules violations and even hazardous waters and trouble navigating those waters when you're on a boat. And according to the U.S. Coast Guard report, alcohol was the leading cause of boating-related deaths in 2014. In conclusion, I really think that Americans can nearly eliminate unintentional drowning deaths by following the three simple rules that I've highlighted in this speech. Again, watching your alcohol intake. Don't consume excessive amounts of alcohol when you plan on being around water. Supervising your kids closely. The CDC recommends that you maintain an arm's distance away from your kids at all time because it can happen fast. It can happen in a matter of 2 to 3 seconds, and you want to be right there in case something like that ever does happen. And last but not least, something that I feel is so easy: throwing a life jacket on when you're planning on being around the water. If you don't have those strong swimming skills, if you don't have real confidence in your ability to swim, a life jacket can help you out so much, and it can increase your chances of survival if something does happen. So this summer, 1/3 of Americans plan to swim in an area without a lifeguard. And like I said, the three suggestions can greatly reduce, if not totally eliminate, the risk of unintentional drowning deaths. So I'm presenting these three suggestions so we can all have a safe summer and we can all mitigate these drowning instances. And I hope you all have a fun, safe summer, and good luck.